Today we are going to be looking at an overview of integrating Zoom with Claris FileMaker. Before we look at our integration, if you are looking to integrate Zoom with FileMaker, there are a few important prerequisites to first check. Most importantly, Zoom requires that any developer working with their APIs are either the Zoom account owner, an account admin, or have been assigned the Zoom for Developers role. Additionally, they highly recommend all developers to read their Key Concepts article. But with those requirements laid out, let's get started on the integration. To set up your OAuth 2.0 connection, which will authenticate us and any users to be able to communicate with Zoom, we first need to set up a general app on the Zoom Marketplace. Now, once you're here, we can go to Develop, Build App, and we're going to be building a general app. Once we've done that, we're going to want to make sure to give our integration a name. I recommend setting it something relevant to your FileMaker solution. So for this, I'm just going to call it FM Integration Demo. Next, we'll want to save two pieces of information from our app here. We are going to need both our client ID and our client secret, and we can copy those directly into FileMaker. Once we've done that, let's go ahead and check off this step. These are going to serve as the username and password for our specific Zoom app. These credentials are different between development and production, so you'll want to be sure to switch these out if you ever change which version of the app that you're going to use. Next, we need to populate the OAuth redirect URL. This is just a web page that the user will go to after they give permission to the application, and that's going to send that access over to FileMaker. We're going to use the example URL for our demo here. Now, once we populate that in, we're going to see that Zoom automatically adds it to the OAuth allow list for our app. It's important that we have the right URLs on the list for security. After we've populated that URL, we need to define the scopes our API will be calling. Zoom allows you to freely use any scopes so long as your app is in development, but if you decide to change it to production, Zoom will only allow you to use the scopes they've approved. Let's add some new scopes by going over to the Scopes page, and we can click Add Scopes. Now, Zoom subcategorizes its scopes by way of products. In our case, because we'll be accessing both user and meeting data, we're going to want to get the scopes from those sections. For the sake of testing, if we go over to User, we're going to select everything under View All User Information. And we're also going to pick everything under View User's ZAK token. And now we're also going to go under Meetings. And under here, we want everything under View All User Meetings. And there are quite a few permissions here, but when testing, it's good to give yourself extra access rather than too little. And we're also going to want to grab everything under View and Manage Your Meetings. Once we have all of those chosen, we can click Done. And there are only two final items that we need to set up our Zoom application. We now need to go over to Access under Features, and we're going to need to obtain a secret token. Now, this secret token essentially acts as the two-factor authentication for our app. We can go ahead and copy that and save it into FileMaker. And let's go ahead and check off these steps here. Now, the very last thing that we need to grab is our authorization URL. This is the actual URL from Zoom that will ask a user if they are okay with our application accessing that information that we requested in our scopes. If we go over here to local test, we can come all the way to the bottom and we can click Generate to generate a new URL for us. Let's go ahead and copy that into our FileMaker solution. Now that we have that, I can go ahead and check this off here, and you'll see that we are ready to go to our sample and see what we can view. First, we're going to want to click Authenticate. This will allow us to start up our current session and allow FileMaker to communicate with Zoom on our behalf. We're going to pull up that authorization URL, and it's going to ask us if we agree to the terms that we set in our scopes. I'm going to go ahead and click Allow, and we'll see it's going to take us over to our redirect URI that we specified. Once we do that, we're going to see that it gives us our authorization code. Next, we need our tokens. If we go ahead and click Get Tokens, we can see that those populate for us. These act as our session identifiers and tell Zoom that we want to interact with our app as our specific selves. And since we now have all of our OAuth information filled out, we're good to go to use our app. Since we've successfully used our OAuth details to connect to Zoom with FileMaker, we now have the ability to go ahead and grab a list of meetings. By default here, Zoom is going to grab the last 30 days of meetings that we have created. By clicking on List Meetings, I've gone ahead and grabbed mine, and we can see that it pulls back a JSON response of the ID, the meeting link, the start time and date, as well as the topic, which we mostly know as the meeting name. On top of listing meetings, we can also use the API to create a meeting. By clicking on Create Meeting, we generate a new meeting invite for us that is set to begin in about 10 minutes. If we want, we can also use that to start the meeting directly from FileMaker. All of these capabilities come together in the Zoom API to build a powerful integration with both Zoom and FileMaker. If you are looking to add a Zoom integration with your Claris FileMaker solution, contact DB Services, and we would be more than happy to help.